Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to Switch to Life. And today we're going to be doing our monthly Dreamworks update where we discuss everything that Dreamworks is coming out with that we know about, including a very big announcement that I'm very excited to discuss later in the video. So with that out of the way, let's talk about it. The first movie that I want to talk about is The Wild Robot, which will actually be DreamWorks' last movie that will be made fully in-house. And we'll get more into that later, but the movie currently has a release date of September 27th, 2024, and I've actually made a trailer 1 breakdown, link down below in the description, but if you want, I can break down trailer 2, just let me know in the comments down below. But as I've said before, this will be the last film that DreamWorks makes fully in-house. After that, they'll do a mix of mainline films and outsourced films, one of which is going to be our next movie, Dogman, which is actually a spin-off of Captain Underpants. It is basically a comic book created by George Beard and Harold Hutchins, and on January 31st, 2025, we will see that comic book come to life. Now, this is actually going to be an outsourced movie, which means that DreamWorks is going to hand off the animation to a completely different production company, but DreamWorks themselves will still own the rights to the film. If I had to guess which production company would be involved, since we don't know that information right now, I think it will be Micros Animation, since they not only have worked with DreamWorks to create 2 of their movies, but among those 2 movies is Captain Underpants, and since Dogman is a spin-off of Captain Underpants, it just makes sense. The next film that we have to talk about is not actually made by DreamWorks themselves, but it is based on one of their properties. That, of course, is the live-action How to Train Your Dragon remake, which I'm actually extremely excited for because I'm a big How to Train Your Dragon fan, and I'm honestly a big fan of the way they're handling this movie. Not only do they have returning people who worked on the original animated trilogy, like Dean DeBlois as writer and director, John Powell as music composer, and even Gerard Butler to reprise his role as a live-action version of Stoic the Vast, but in terms of the rest of the casting, it's all really good. And the fact that they actually finished filming for this movie sometime in late May actually makes me even more excited because that means they have a lot of time to do the CGI/animatronic work before they have to release the film on June 13th, 2025. The next film on the list is going to be The Bad Guys 2, with the release date of August 1st, 2025. And I gotta say that I'm really excited for this sequel. At the same time, it's actually going to be the first mainline film that will be co-produced with Sony Pictures Imageworks. What that means is that DreamWorks and Sony will each provide 50% of the animation assets, and while DreamWorks themselves will animate almost an hour's worth of content for the movie, Sony will pick up the remaining 20 to 30 minutes of the rest of the film. And it's not like they're going to be given small snippets to animate here and there throughout the whole movie. They'll actually be given their own individual scenes. Now, if you actually want, you can go down in the description and check out some of my predictions for The Bad Guys 2. But now it's time for the big announcement, which is that The Bad Guys 2 is not going to be the only mainline movie, and it's not even going to be the only sequel that DreamWorks will give us in 2025. Yep, it's finally time to announce that Shrek 5 has been given a 2025 release date. Or rather, a release slate. See, here's the thing. Eddie Murphy, the voice actor of Donkey, has actually come forward and said that production on Shrek 5 has already begun, and they are aiming for a 2025 release. While they haven't exactly nailed down a specific date, the fact that they're aiming for a 2025 release actually fits with a rumor about a Universal employee who ended up getting his contract leaked, which included a Shrek project released in 2025. Eddie Murphy has already recorded a third of his lines for the movie, and so that actually means that the film is already in production and thus cannot be canceled anymore. So it's official, Shrek 5 is actually coming. At the same time that Eddie Murphy announced this, he also said that there's actually a movie about Donkey in the early stages of development. Unfortunately, he also said that the two films are not being produced back to back, which means that it will most likely be a long time to wait for that Donkey movie. But still, the fact that we're getting a Shrek 5 is enough. Now, in terms of the rest of the cast, we know for a fact that Mike Myers wants to do another Shrek movie, so he's probably already doing his voice lines. At the same time, Cameron Diaz is also probably going to return as Princess Fiona. Even though she did retire from being an actress, she did come out of retirement to do 1 or 2 movies, and Chris Meledandri has said that he really wants the original cast to be part of this film, so it makes sense that Cameron Diaz could possibly set aside time to do some recording. But it's possible it might not get that 2025 release. Eddie Murphy said that it's aiming for that date, but at the same time, since DreamWorks and Universal have yet to actually confirm that that's the release date, it's possible that the film could be delayed to 2026. However, if I had to guess, I would say that there are 2 possibilities. Either Shrek 5 comes out in the May of 2025, just in time for the summer blockbuster season and to avoid competition with the other DreamWorks films. But at the same time, it could actually be released in the November and December of 2025, just in time for the holiday blockbuster season. Kind of like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which, speaking of, it's highly likely that Shrek 5 is going to have the same animation styling as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and that it will probably take place after The Last Wish, which means that we could see characters like Puss, Kitty Softpaws, and even Perrito show up. Maybe even Death if we're lucky. While it's not really confirmed whether this will be an outsourced or mainline movie, I literally cannot imagine a universe where DreamWorks doesn't handle this movie themselves, even if they have to co-produce it with Sony Pictures Imageworks. At this point in time, we don't actually know the story, but I do have a theory down below in the description. Feel free to check out that video. But now it's on to the final movie that we know DreamWorks is giving us, and that is Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, which is currently set for a release of September 26, 2025. The film will star Gabby going to a new place called Cat San Francisco, where her dollhouse is actually stolen, and now she has to go on a big city adventure to rescue the Gabby cats from a crazy cat lady. This is actually an outsourced film and will most likely be made by the same people who actually make the Gabby's Dollhouse TV show, but most likely with a higher budget. Speaking of, it's now time to dive into the TV show side of things. The first TV show to discuss is, of course, Gabby's Dollhouse, which has actually been renewed for over 100 episodes throughout the entire series, with Season 10 getting a release date of August 5th, 2024. Yeah, it's happening that soon. We don't actually know how many episodes are going to be in the season, but we know that the lowest number possible is 6 episodes. So even if it only has 6 episodes in season 10, that still brings the series to 70, which means 30 left to go. And a really great thing about season 10 is that it's going to introduce a brand new Gabby cat called Marty the Party Cat. And to celebrate, Gabby's Dollhouse is actually going on tour with hashtag Party with Marty. And I just pause the video if you want to see where Gabby's is visiting. But now it's time for the next show, which is Jurassic World Chaos Theory. And good news, literally 2 weeks after the first season was released, Netflix renewed the series for season 2. And they even gave it a release slate of fall 2024, which means that season 2 could be released anywhere in between September and November. If I had to guess, I would say either late September or early October. We actually got this news from two different sources. First, Chaos Theory is scheduled to show up at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, I personally am not going to attend, but I think that it will either showcase a brand new trailer or maybe even the first episode of Season 2. However, the other source is a next on Netflix animation, which actually discusses pretty much everything that is coming to Netflix that is animated, one of which includes Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul, which is an Aardman movie, which, if you guys know, used to work with Dreamworks, especially when they created Wallace and Gromit The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Unfortunately, Dreamworks has no involvement in this new film whatsoever, but I thought it was worth mentioning. However, one thing that is worth mentioning is something that wasn't there, namely preschool TV shows. What that means is shows like Gabby's Dollhouse Season 10 and the next thing that we talk about, Mighty MonsterWheelies, is nowhere to be found in that video at all. But we do know that both of those shows are actually happening, and we even got a new release slate for Mighty MonsterWheelies, that being October 2024. Now, previously that was just speculation that it would release in October, but now it's actually confirmed that it will be released in October. But with that in mind, there is one final thing that I want to discuss. The Bad Guys TV show. Now, unfortunately, this has been speculation on my part for months now that we would be getting a TV show based on the Bad Guys, especially after The Bad Guys in a Very Bad Holiday was marketed as a Netflix original series, when in reality it was just a one-time special. Unfortunately, there was no Bad Guys TV show advertised during that Next on Netflix animation video, which means one of two things. Either the Bad Guys TV show is actually going to be a preschool series, which I don't think is going to be the case, or it's not happening at all, which at this point I think is extremely likely. Not only due to the fact that it's literally almost a year until the release of the second movie, which means that the TV show would only have 1 or 2 seasons, but at the same time, the fact that even though it's been 7 months since the holiday special, we still don't have an announcement, it really makes me think that the Bad Guys TV show was canceled, if it even existed at all. So this will be the last time I bring it up. But it's time to move to the other preschool TV shows that are not talked about. That, of course, includes Go Dog Go, which, as of right now, currently has 4 seasons with a total of 40 episodes. Now, I have been speculating that there is actually going to be a Season 5, and a rumor actually dropped that there is a Season 5 slated for release sometime in fall 2024. Unfortunately, this is just a rumor, not a confirmed source, but I think it's possible that we could see a Season 5 get released. Too bad I can't say the same thing about the other TV shows, including Dewdrop Diaries and Not Quite Narwhal. Both of these shows managed to get 2 seasons with an equivalent of 26 episodes, which means that they actually ended their production phases, and now it's up to viewership as to whether or not the shows get renewed. Unfortunately, unlike Gabby's Dollhouse and Mighty MonsterWheelies, they have actually yet to confirm whether or not these shows have been renewed, and there's not even a rumor going around that there's Season 3 of either show in production. What that means is that either Season 3 is still quietly being worked on, or they're just not happening. And now we come to the bad part of the video, leaving Netflix, which unfortunately every single TV show that Netflix makes, they eventually lose the license to, so they have to take it off their streaming service and give it to the actual owners, which for Dreamworks is, in this case, Universal. And unfortunately, a lot of TV shows have been renewed, and as of right now, we don't actually have a removal date for any show, but I did discover that one TV show was removed last April, that of course being Home Adventures with Tip and O. And the thing is, I looked everywhere I could. I found out the show was removed in April, but I never once found anything that announced the removal date. It just poofed out of existence and nobody noticed, including myself. So I'm sorry about that. But at the same time, it reminded me of when All Hail King Julian was removed in November 2023 with no announcement whatsoever. With both of those shows getting removed without any word, and the fact that for the past few months I have been saying that we have no removal dates from any DreamWorks TV shows, even though thanks to Home Adventures with Tip and O that was not the case, I think it's safe to say that it's time I drop this leaving Netflix bit. Instead, I will just post TV shows when they leave in my community tab, and we can reminisce about them there. But otherwise, they will not be part of this channel at all. But if you want to know what shows are most likely going to get removed next, I think that the top 3 are going to be Dino Trucks, Dragon's Race to the Edge, and most important of all, Dawn of the Croods. But now it's time for some good news. One of DreamWorks' latest theatrical movies, Trolls Band Together, is about to head to Netflix this month on July 15th, 2024. Currently, the film is streaming on Peacock, but it will leave Peacock to go to Netflix. So go ahead and watch Band Together this month if you haven't already. I highly recommend it. But with that in mind, this will be the last time I discuss Band Together in one of these videos. However, it's not the only film that's going to be coming to Netflix, as Kung Fu Panda 4 has already been released on Peacock. Now, I actually thought it was going to release in the first week of July, but it was actually released on June 21st, 2024. With that in mind, that means that 4 months from then, we're going to get Kung Fu Panda 4 released on Netflix on October 21st, 2024. Now, please note that both of those releases will not include the short film Dueling Dumplings, which is included in the Blu-ray, DVD, and digital releases of this film. However, the short film is actually lackluster, and I do not recommend actually buying Kung Fu Panda 4 just to watch this one short film. So if you have a Peacock subscription, go ahead and watch Kung Fu Panda 4, and if you don't, just wait for it to come to Netflix in October. But with that out of the way, it's time to dive into our next streaming service. Unfortunately, we don't actually have any Peacock renewals, but I do think that it's possible we could get a Season 3 of Fright Crew, especially considering that Season 2 left off on a minor cliffhanger that makes it clear that they have ideas for where they want to take the series, but at the same time, it's actually at the end of its production phase, meaning that now it's up to viewership as to whether or not we get a Season 3. Still, Fright Crew is actually pretty good, and I highly recommend that you go and watch it right now on Peacock and Hulu, but I wish I could say the same thing about the other Peacock TV show, Megamind Rules, which actually just got its second season, or rather the second half of its first season, released earlier this month. Now, the season did actually end with a high note, and it's a happy ending, which makes me think that it's at the end of its production phase. Now it's up to viewership and critics as to whether or not the show gets renewed for Season 2, or I guess Season 3. But considering how bad that Megamind Rules TV show is, I do not recommend going and watching it, especially if you want to keep the purity of the original film in your head. If you want, you can actually check out my Megamind Rules review down below in the description, and I'm actually working on a review for Season 2 right now. So with that in mind, let's move on to our final show for Peacock, which is the Untitled live-action Casper the Friendly Ghost series, which is going to be a live-action animation hybrid, and as of right now, we know that it's going to dive more into the horror aspect than the humor aspect of what TV shows are like. But unfortunately, we don't even have a release slate for this show. It could be released in October 2024, or it could be coming out next year, or the year after that. We don't actually know. But with that out of the way, it's time to dive into our final streaming service. The only TV show that's still going on Apple TV Plus is Curses, which as of right now only has one season with 10 episodes. Now, it's been a really long time since season 1 was actually first released, and as of right now, we have no idea if the show has been canceled or renewed for season 2 behind the scenes. And at this point, I think it's looking pretty unlikely that season 2 is happening, but I'm still holding out hope. One TV show that is definitely coming to Apple TV Plus is Brick, which as of right now has one season with a confirmed 13 episodes in production, but we don't know when this series is releasing, and in fact, I'm not even expecting it to come out until 2025. And now it's time to do something unique. We're going to be discussing various art books that Dreamworks is making. Now, these art books are essentially just taking a compilation of concept art that was used to help make the various films and TV shows Netflix has worked on. Among them is The Art of Kung Fu Panda 4, which currently has a release date of July 16th, 2024. A few months after that, we have The Art of Dreamworks Animation celebrating 30 years of movies and TV shows, which is really awesome as it's basically a compilation of 30 years worth of Dreamworks, and within it could also include some art for The Wild Robot, which is even getting its own art book. Both of these art books will actually be released on the same day, September 10th, 2024. We also have The Art of Dogman, which is going to be released on December 10th, 2024, and will give us concept art that is used to create DreamWorks' first 2025 film. And the last thing that I want to talk about is a theme park, DreamWorks Dragons: The Isle of Berk, which is part of Universal Epic Universe, which is set to open in Universal Studios Orlando, Florida, sometime in 2025. And that is the end of our announcements. So to recap, we have Trolls Band Together coming to Netflix on July 15th, 2024. This will be followed by The Art of Kung Fu Panda 4, which will be released on July 16th, 2024, followed by Gabby's Dollhouse Season 10, which will come to Netflix on August 5th, 2024. This will be followed by The Art of Dreamworks 30th Anniversary book, which will be released on September 10th, 2024, the same date as The Art of the Wild Robot, just a few weeks before the actual film The Wild Robot releases on September 27th, 2024. This will be followed by the Netflix release of Kung Fu Panda 4 on October 21st, 2024. This will be followed by The Art of Dogman, which currently has a release date of December 10th, 2024, about a month before the actual film releases on January 31st, 2025. This will be followed by the live-action How to Train Your Dragon, which will be released on June 13th, 2025. This will be followed by The Bad Guys 2, which will be released on August 1st, 2025. And finally, Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, which will be released on September 26th, 2025. And that is everything to talk about in this video. So with that in mind, what is your guys' most anticipated project on this list? Make sure to comment down below, and also please make sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up to date on all things DreamWorks, including when I review the second season of Megamind Rules later this month. Until then, make sure that you're all staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.
It's Shrek, your best friend?
Please eat my face last and send my hooves to my mama!